Hello, today I'm going to be telling you about the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. This is a program for graduating seniors, graduate students, early career professionals, teachers, and creative and performing artists. This program is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State and is administered by a not-for-profit organization called the Institute of International Education. The Fulbright Program was created in 1946 by the U.S. Congress. It was developed right after World War II, and it was intended to help foster world peace by educational exchange. Therefore, you'll see that the goal for this program is to increase mutual understanding between the peoples of the United States and the peoples of other countries. This program itself is actually more than just a program for U.S. students. It involves exchange from foreign students as well coming to the United States. There's also a scholar program for those that have their doctorate degree. But today I'm just going to be talking about the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, which again is for students that are graduating seniors, graduate students, early career professionals, creative and performing artists, or teachers. To be eligible for this program, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to have your bachelor's degree by the start of the grant. You cannot have your doctoral degree by the application deadline, and you should have a proficiency in the language of the host country that you're applying to. This grant provides round-trip airfare to the country that you're going to, a monthly stipend, which depends on the country and the cost of living, accident and sickness coverage, and other possible benefits would include support for dependents, an additional research allowance, tuition for graduate school, language lessons, any sort of enhancement activity or disability-related accommodations. All of these other possible benefits will vary by the host country. There are two main types of grants that the U.S. Student Program provides. There is the Research Study Grant and the English Teaching Assistantship, also known as the ETA. For the Research/Study Grant, there are 900 awards available in about 145 countries. Each award would be about 8 to 12 months in length. And for this grant, you can either do independent research, study towards a master's degree, a combination of the two, or a creative arts project. For the English Teaching Assistantship, there are 1,200 awards available in about 75 countries. Again, this award period is about 8 to 12 months, and you would be teaching English and U.S. culture in a classroom. The grant type availability and the amount of types of grants available vary by country significantly. Because the U.S. Student Program is a partnership between the United States and other countries, these partner countries have the ability to determine what types of grants are available and what their preferred candidates are. So, for example, China has indicated that they have 50 open study research grants available, but no English teaching assistantship grants. Israel has 4 English teaching assistantship grants and 8 open study research. And in contrast, Ireland only has 1 open study research grant, and then it offers 6 partnership awards with specific universities within that country where you could study for a master's degree. The candidate profile varies significantly by the country. So again, China requires that you have 2 years of college-level Mandarin if you are to apply to an open study research grant in this country. They do not accept applications for graduate degree enrollment, and they do not accept applications for projects in the hard sciences, technology, or business. The application timeline for the U.S. Fulbright Student Program is about 1 full year. Between March and August, you should be thinking about your project. which grant will you apply for, which country will you apply to, and you'll prepare your application in conjunction with the RIT Fulbright Program assistant. The campus deadline will be in early September. Campus deadline is determined by RIT and is required by the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. After the campus deadline, you will be interviewed by the Fulbright Campus Committee, and the interview is intended to help improve the application. It is not a step in the process where you would be recommended or not recommended to move on. After that interview, you have the opportunity to review your application, revise it, and approve upon it, and then submit it for the national application deadline in early October. After the early October deadline, there are 2 phases of review. First, there's the national screening committees. This review takes place in November and December. There, subject experts and country experts will be reviewing all applications. They will make recommendations on who they believe would be good to recommend to the countries specifically to then review to make final decisions of the grant. In January, all applicants are notified whether or not they were recommended by that national screening committee. At this point, if you are recommended, you are considered a semifinalist. Semifinalists will then have their applications reviewed by Fulbright commissions or embassies between the periods of January and March. At this point, the commissions and embassies have full authority over who they would like to award the grant to. They then notify the students, then choose their awardees, and students are notified whether or not they are selected between March and June. After you are notified whether or not you are selected to be a Fulbright finalist, you would confirm or accept the position and participate in an orientation over the summer, and then begin your grant likely in September. I'm going to spend a little time talking about general qualifications for each of the grants types. For the research study grants, one should have a well-developed project or study plan. You should have a high level of academic and/or professional achievement. While there's no GPA minimum, most Fulbright applicants have a GPA of over 3.0. You should additionally have demonstrated leadership ability. This is because this project is not just a service to yourself. You're not intended to just complete your project. You're also supposed to be a cultural ambassador. And in that case, you should have this demonstrated leadership ability that would prove that you'd be a good cultural ambassador to the country you're going to. Additionally, you should have sufficient language proficiency. The requirements vary by country, but you should be able to get around comfortably and carry out your project with your language proficiency. Finally, you should have a community engagement or service orientation. Again, as a cultural ambassador, you're expected to participate and engage in the local community. Further, you're supposed to complete a community engagement project in addition to your plans for research or study. This can be anything from coaching the local youth soccer league to participating in the local improv group. It should be something that really gets you in front of the community and makes you feel like you're part of it. The English Teaching Assistantship is a 20 to 30 hour assignment of teaching English a week. Now, you're not only teaching English, but you'd be helping to teach the students about U.S. culture. Therefore, you should have excellent communication skills. These applicants should have teaching experience. Ideally, they have formal teaching experience, but informal experience like mentorship, tutoring, coaching is also acceptable. English teaching assistantship applicants should be flexible, adaptable, and open. This is because they are placed in locations throughout the country that may not be identified prior to the applicant receiving the grant. Therefore, you should be comfortable in an urban or rural setting, in a elementary school or high school setting. If the country indicates where the English teaching assistant will be teaching, then you can talk about your experience with that group or setting. However, applications should be more generally about one's ability to communicate in English and teach English effectively. Again, English teaching assistantships as part of this exchange program should also be cultural ambassadors and are expected to engage outside of teaching in the local community. These are the application components for the Fulbright U.S. student program. You must complete 2 essays, acquire 3 references, upload your transcript. If you're applying in the arts, you must submit a digital portfolio, and if you're applying for a research study grant, you'll secure an affiliation letter. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on each component. For the essay component, you're going to be writing 2 essays. The first is a statement of purpose. For research study students, this is 2 pages maximum. For English teaching assistantships, this is 1 page maximum, and you'll be describing the purpose of your application. You'll also be writing a personal statement, which is 1 page maximum, and here you should be describing your motivations and the reasons for applying for the Fulbright program. You should also connect your personal life to the project you are proposing. You should secure 3 references. Ideally, they are all from professors. However, if you have more experience outside of school, then it is also acceptable to have a reference that is in the work environment. It is only most important that your references can speak to your ability to carry out the project successfully. If the country requires that you have a certain language proficiency level, then you will also have to fill out a foreign language evaluation. For arts projects, you'll be submitting a digital portfolio of 15 to 20 images of your current work. And then finally, for research and study applicants, you'll be submitting an affiliation letter. The affiliation letter is for students that are applying for the research or study grant. In particular, if you are applying to research independently or in conjunction with the study program, you must secure an affiliation. This means an institution in the country that will act as an advisor or mentor throughout the process. Usually, letters of affiliation come from universities. However, it is also acceptable if they come from museums, not-for-profit organizations, NGOs, libraries, community organizations, or labs. The requirements will vary by country, so pay attention to the country profile. These letters must be signed and be on letterhead, and then you will upload it into your application. ETAs do not secure affiliations. All of this is done through an online application system, and you will receive instructions on how to do this later in the application process. If you're a currently enrolled RIT student, you must apply through the campus process. This means you must meet the campus deadline and have an interview. Recent alumni do not have to do this, but are advised to do so as they receive better guidance throughout the process. To get started on your application, look for upcoming workshops, which take place in March and April. Meet with your academic librarian to discuss how to better research and propose your project idea. Meet with your co-op or career advisor. They'll help you think through if Fulbright is the right opportunity for you after graduation. And you can watch webinars and specific application tips and components on our YouTube channel, RIT Global Study Abroad. It is also suggested that you research past awardees, talk to past RIT applicants, and look at YouTube webinars, read Fulbright blogs, and reach out to RIT Fulbrighters. You should also be reaching out to those that will be writing your letters of recommendation early in the process. And finally, please read through the Fulbright website thoroughly. The address is at the bottom of each slide. RIT International Fellowship's role in this process is truly to guide you through the application process. We'll help direct you to resources, advise on the communication of your project idea, and revise your essays. We keep you informed of upcoming checkpoints in the process. We manage the RIT review and interview process. We write your evaluations, and then finally submit your applications to the Institute of International Education. Finally, here are some further resources for you as you consider your application. Good luck.